Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Lili nishmas imi merosi rusbas Mordechai. Welcome. We are still here in Chicago, and we will say and start off with the Kapitel Tehillim. Everybody together. Kapitel Kuf Mem Beis. Maskil David b'Yosef v'Amoros Vilo. Koili el Adonai Yezah, Koili el Adonai Yischanon, Eshpoich lefonov sichi, Tzarasi lefonov agid, Bisatei v'lai ruchi, Bato yodat nusivosi, Baruch zu alech tom nufachli, Habeit yominu rei ve'en li makir, Ovad monois mimeni, ein deresh lenafshi, Zoakti lecho Adonai, Omarti ato machsi, Chelki be'eretz hachayim, Hakshiva rinosi ki da loisim yoid Hatzileni miroid fai ki yom tu mimeni Hoitzio mimazger nafshi loi doise shemecho Biachtir tzadikim ki sigmoid oloi Acheinu ko beis Yisrael Hanesunim bitzoru v'ashivyo Ho'imdim bein bayom u'bein bayabosho Hamoki mirachim aleye V'hitzim mitzoru l'rivocho U'miafelu liyoiro U'mishivu l'gu'ulo Hashto bagalo v'zman koriv V'nimar omein. All those who were kidnapped and captured should come back like that soldier came back today. Be'ezer Hashem, we should hear more and more Psuras Toivas and no more fear from the enemy all over the world. So, Rabbi Isai, we'll start off with a couple of emails here. Let's see. My husband recently started watching your shiurim on Torah anytime. My young husband has a chronic illness. Rochel should have refuah shlema, which makes it hard for him to concentrate and read. The shiur is the best thing that happened to him. The visual aids make it so much easier for him to understand, and they make the shiur so interesting. He calls me over to see what you show. He really enjoys the humor and the shiur in general. It makes him feel part of something bigger. It makes our family proud that he's able to learn. May Hashem bench you and your family with Hatzlocha and Gesund. Thank you, Esther Hershkowitz. Hilly, dear Rebelli, you mamish changed my life. I'll never forget the day I started learning with you, Nazir Daf Beis. Is this the same Bacher that wrote earlier? Somebody else, I believe. Every single day when I come home from yeshiva at night, my highlight is to learn even more torah. But this torah is way different because I'm learning with Rebelli. Can you imagine a 16-year-old yeshiva Bacher sometimes gets home very late from yeshiva, is very tired, but no matter how late I get home from yeshiva, it won't stop me from learning with Rebelli. Hilly, Yeshakayach. Hopefully he'll make it there to the Shabbos of achdus. Mark Kladny, dear Roshel Yeshiva Shlita Raveli. That's a first. We all feel the excitement for getting the Siyum Kiddushin starting Baba Kama. I'm personally looking forward because I'll be making Be'ez Hashem my first Sima Shas Mazel Tov when I complete Baba Kama. My roller coaster ride started with Baba Metzia. He calls it a roller coaster ride. I call it a, what's it called? Ferris wheel. Because no matter where you get on, you get off at the same place. So it doesn't matter if you get on brachas, you get off at brachas, you get on Baba Kama, you get off at Baba Kama. It's the same shas for everybody. I think that's what he meant. But it could be a roller coaster ride, I guess. This morning you mentioned regarding the matzah of what's going on around the world, especially in your own backyards, how we need to be proactive and do what we can to keep us safe. I'd like to inform to our fellow MDYer Chevra that I created a website to help people in New York City and State, New York State and New York City, and many other states, to obtain a pistol permit to have means to protect themselves. It's interesting because just today they announced that imagine, Ger Hasidim, they got 20 guys with weapons and they have a kitat konanut, whatever it's called, something like a group that's ready in case of emergency. So you have to do shtadlus. We unfortunately witnessed what happened in being that we have a permanent target on our backs. We're bloodthirsty Nazis globally are waiting for the opportunity. We must be prepared with Torah, Tefillah, and Gemilas Chesed, and getting trained along with Siyat Shmaya. Also, as a side note, people told me here in Chicago, people that in a million years wouldn't even think of getting a gun. Not only are they getting, their wives are pushing them to get. And it's interesting, my wife came over to me today and she says, I want to go learn how to shoot. It's crazy. That's the matzav, that My wife and my daughter both separately told me the same thing. Huh?
Every Jew at 22.
Every Jew at 22. Okay. Baruch Hashem, we live in the USA. We have kinds of, but what's scary is it's so easy to get a gun here. It's very easy for them to get, and they don't have an issue using it and doing what they call a mitzvah, and that's what's scary. It affords us the right to own a firearm for self-defense. Unfortunately, blue states do everything in their power to do. Okay, the website that I created is complete guides for New York City, New Jersey, and many other states, plus many more articles that are geared towards the Yiddish community. It's 2A613.com. 2A stands for Second Amendment. 2A, the number 2A, the number 613.com. Im Hashem lo yishmor ir. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, concerns, especially your Talmud, Moishie Kaladni Yishkoyach Moishie. Boisai, if you're wondering, are all the shiurim in the world, do they all look like here in Chicago? We have a not bad oilam, but this is in the mothership just yesterday.
Since both
I counted 30 people here.
So you have to show we learn more from the Zchorya and Gedalia, just by Tumah. Tumah applies only to the men.
Okay. The question was asked, what nusach will we daven in the Beis Hamikdash b'Kor b'Yameinu? Yishmak Yid said, it'll be just like the mun. Everyone had their own unique taste. The same will be with the nusach. Everyone will hear his own nusach. Shimi Braun. Rebelli, I'm not sure if you consider this a kiss from Hashem, but during the latter part of today's shir, I started to drimmel. Started falling asleep. And just as my eyes were closing, I heard you call out, hey, are you guys falling asleep on me? For a moment, I thought I was watching on Zoom, and yet see my eyes closing. But then I realized you were referring to those attending live in Chicago. Needless to say, I was jolted awake for the rest of the shir. Keep teaching, inspiring, waking us up. Looking forward to spending Shabbos with you and a few hundred other MDYers, Dr. Mayer, Wickler, Yishkoyach. Well, I looked around the room and I saw the oilam was, their eyes were, it was one of those sugyas, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes we fall into some sugyas that are not Shavuot Chol Nefesh. My father is 84 years old, joined the Rebelli Shurim by Kiddushin, and is being Messiah now. He's very into the Shurim. He lives in Brooklyn. It's hard for him to come to the Shabbos. However, we're making a scene for him in Brooklyn, but it's Shabbos. I was wondering if Eli's ever in Brooklyn, if he can come by to say hello to my father, it would be a big chizik. Yitzhak Green said, your father, a mazel tov. I most likely won't be able to make it, unfortunately, but a tremendous mazel tov. Boisai, Shabbos of achdus. Grab your tickets now. There's only 2 rooms left. No. Maybe there's a 0 after that, or maybe 2. Who knows? No. Go chop your rooms. Be'emes. You don't want to be on the 7th floor. I know a bunch of people that are 100% coming. They still didn't book rooms. It's crazy. Yidden. The raffle is going to be tomorrow. And you know that all money goes straight to tzedakah. So whether you win or not, it's a win. So far, there's 202 entries. So it's three full rooms. Those 3 couples out of 200 entries. Not so bad. Tomorrow, Beis Hashem, I'll announce it in shir, I believe. There's a few things I was supposed to mention here. Oh, the siyum. People were asking about the siyum. I even got an email. I don't think I read it. The siyum is taking place. You could come just for the siyum. I don't know what the price is. There's something. I don't know. It's somewhere around $100, I think. Under $100 maybe. And you go to MDYShabbos.com and you go to the siyum. I think it should be on now. If not, well, by the time this year comes out tomorrow, hopefully. MDYShabbos.com for tickets to the actual Shabbos, for tickets for the siyum. I don't know if I said this correctly because only a few people took advantage of this yesterday. Save 300. SAVE 300 is the promotion code. Save 300. Was noch? That's it? Okay. Beis Hashem. We'll see everybody there. It's going to be tremendous. The Koilel, the Masechta. Lakewood Lebovic families, Lakewood NJ, because torah and achdus are the best segula. Masechta for the unity of Am Yisrael. Peretz Chaim Levin, Hatzlocha L'zechus Yosef Mayer, Ben Rochel, and yidden worldwide. Peretz Chaim Levin, nishmas, Zechraya ben Moishie, nishmas, Yosef. Parnas Shavua, the last day, Shkoyach, Natalie and Victor Kraiem in honor of Gedalia ben Asea, Gustavo Furman. And Parnas HaChodesh, Yosef ben Chayesara, for the schusim that come from supporting Limud HaTorah, Rabboisai. Here we go. We're holding a brand new Mishnah, Daf Ches, Amud Beis. Mi shenasan rishus l'shluchoi l'kaddish bitoy. A person had a younger daughter, and he sent an agent to go find the husband. V'halachu v'kitcha. He decided to circumvent the agent, and he went himself. The father went himself, and mekaddish the daughter, and of course, who went first? Im shaloi kadmu kiddush of kiddushin. If he's the one that went first, he was able to find a chasam for his daughter. So his kiddushin is good. And Rashi sticks in a nekuda here that the shlichos that he gave to that shaliach is mevutal. Why does Rashi have to say that? I mean, if his kiddushin is good kiddushin, he's first. So don't think that maybe he put this guy on reserve. He's trying to see what the shliach is going to accomplish. Maybe he'll get the top guy in a yeshiva, and then whatever shidduch he got for his daughter, I'll just tell him, go jump in the lake. No. You should know, he was mevatel the shlichus. Okay? Vim shel shluchoi kadmu. And if the shliach was first, kiddush of kiddushin, then, boys, we have a little bit of a stand for geschmack. Back to the geschmack days. Here goes. Maybe we'll put on some volume here. It goes with some geschmack volume. It goes. Shver is closing in. The Bulls game. I think I don't forget these things. Yeah. Somebody just offered me tickets to the Bulls game. Front row. Somebody. My own partner has 2 seats there. Maybe I shouldn't have said it, because now you're going to go to him and say, no. I said, I can't do it. You know, so like pictures and that, I'll send my kids, but I can't really do it. Okay? Halavai. Back in the day. Benny which reminds me also. So Benny the Bull came to my shver. He had a throat problem. So my shver said, do you remember my son-in-law? He did this and this to you? He says, no, he didn't remember. I asked him exactly. He's retired already. That's what he claims. I said, how do you know it's Benny the Bull? Anyway, because I'm Benny the Bull. Like, how do you know? No. He gave him some simanim. Okay. Get. Whoever's new to the shir has no idea what I'm talking about. Kids, once I was on TV because I started out with Benny the Bull. I didn't start up. I gave him back. V'meinu yedua says the last words on the Amud. V'meinu yedua. You don't know who's first, the father or the shliach. Shneim noisnim get. Both must give a get because we don't know who's first. V'mratzu, and if they would want echad noisim get ve'echad kaines, since the kiddushin could possibly be in both, so one gives a get and one could get married. Now, let me hold on a second. This guy that's getting married, does he have to give another kiddushin?
Yes.
Why?
Because if he was originally married the first time, then that second marriage is nothing.
You mean if he was the second guy?
If he's the second guy.
Not if he's the first guy. If he's the second guy, and the first guy was the real kiddushin, so his kiddushin was nothing. And if this first guy gave a get and he wants to marry, he's going to have to redo the kiddushin. Correct. Let me ask you another question, Mr. Talmud Chacham. You're answering everything lately. What is a case where one cannot give a get and the other get married? You can't do it. What's a good case? Interesting. I hear. More. That's just still a Kraiem. So over here on the side, this Rayze.it says 2 brothers, or brother or father, Kraiem. Okay, very good. I hear saying Kraiem let's think a second, because if he's really, the first guy was really engaged or married, and he gave a get, then she would be a divorcee. Same identical case, just a little bit different. Instead of the father sending an agent, it's the woman herself sent the agent. And she went and she's Mekadesh herself. Now again, the same exact thing. If she was first, she gets the chasen that she picked. If the agent was first, Kiddush of Kiddushin. And if we don't know who's first, they both give a divorce. And if they would like, because no, it bothered me in the beginning. Kindness would seem like you go right into it. No, you have to do Kiddushin. Fine. Says the Gemara, I need both cases where the father sends an agent and the woman sends an agent. When the father sends an agent, the father will be more careful and make sure that there's good yichos, and maybe that's what he wanted. He wanted a better husband for the wife. Maybe she's not so familiar with the way yichos works. Maybe she wasn't soymech, says Rashi. She didn't really want to get engaged to this guy. It was more like, he's in the wings, so to speak. He thought he's getting engaged. She put him on reserve in case her father doesn't come up with something, the shliach doesn't come up with something better. This is the guy. But she still doesn't know good yichos, not good yichos. V'yashmin on Gabidida, and it would only say the case of the woman herself, making shliach. This is a daiku mitzvah. A woman is very careful who she marries. She's going to marry somebody proper. And Mamela, she wants the best guy. And she doesn't want the shliach to get her a husband. Maybe the father doesn't care as much. Well, marry her off. Interesting stuff. Well, we saw the other day, when was it? Maybe more than that. We saw it a number of times. The father cares about the money. He has side benefits. And he's more somich on the shliach. And he doesn't do a condition. Maybe his Kiddushin shouldn't be anything at all. Tzricha, we need both cases. Okay. Itmar. So now we're starting really a very familiar sugya. We've done this a number of times. Nothing really new here. But it's a good shas sugya. It's good chazara. The idea of chazaka dahashta, chazaka kamaisa. How do we view a person? And we had these cases, very familiar cases. I'll remind the Olam a case about a mikvah, that you put a kli in a mikvah and you found out later that it was missing water, but you checked it before. These kind of cases, same idea, 3 different cases. So one of them is our case. Itmar kitcha via baderech v'kitcha atzma ba'ir. The father was on a trip. Comes home and he says, "You're not going to believe it. I found the best guy in the world for you, so and so." And she's like, "What are you talking about? I forgot to tell you that just yesterday I found a guy for myself and I'm a kala." Kitcha aviya baderech, v'kitcha atzma ba'ir, and she did her own kiddushin. Varei b'geres, and it turns out that she is more than 12 and a half years old. There's a guy sitting in a train, minding his own business. Another fellow comes over to him and says, "You have the time?" Doesn't answer him. Goes a few minutes. "I understand. I'm asking you what time. Why don't you answer me?" He says, "Listen, I know the trick. You ask me what time it is. I'm going to tell you what time. Then you're going to say, and what's your name? And where you're from?" "This city." "Happens to be that I have a daughter. You have a son. I'm trying to make a shidduch, and they're going to get engaged." "No, so what's the problem?" He says, "I don't want my son to be engaged to a girl whose father doesn't have a watch." Plain and simple like that. Yeah. He's on the way. He's Mekadesh. He gets engaged to a person that has a watch. He finds a shidduch for his daughter. Varei b'geres. So let me show you just this thing. This is an updated chart of a ktana and naira b'geres. A ktana is somebody who's up until 12 years old. That, of course, the father has the right to marry off. A naira is from 12 to approximately 12 and a half. The most it could go is to 12 and a half. And b'geres is what's going on with her head. Okay, I see. Begeres is 12 and a half forever. Once she's a begeres, she's in her own domain. Her father cannot marry her off. So now we have a question. When exactly did the father try to marry her off? If she was a begeres, then garnished. It's nothing. Whatever the father did is zero. He has no right to marry her off. Of course she's engaged to the guy she got engaged to. So Rav Amar Harei begeres lefanenu. Let's look at what we have right in front of us. We go by right now. Right now, she's an adult. She's in her own domain. She's engaged to her guy, not to the father's guy. We must be concerned that perhaps the father's engagement worked. Now, Rashi says, it's really on a little bit later, but we could say it here because I don't want to forget. Rashi says that the father made the engagement first, and afterwards his daughter. First him, then her, and not the other way around. And basically, I believe it has to do with what Tosfos says over here. I'm just going to say it, not explain it. I don't expect anybody to really get into it, but if you want to look at the top Tosfos, Tosfos says that there's a concept called cheskas pnuya, that a woman has a chazaka that she's single. But in this case, there's a memon of shach that she's not single, because either the father got her a chassan, or she got herself a chassan. So either way, she doesn't have. But that only works, says Tosfos, and that's what I think what Tosfos means. It only works if the father's first and she's second. But if she's first and the father's second, it's possible both of them didn't work. It's possible she was under the father's domain at that point, and it's possible that the father didn't work either because she was already begeres at that time. So it could be she's still a pnuya. That's why Rashi seems to say the father went first. I'm just explaining why Rashi says the father went first and she went second. Because I struggle to understand that Rashi doesn't really explain. It just says the father went first and she went second. That's the... Okay. Again, if you didn't understand what I said, it doesn't make a difference here. I just threw bemis. I wasn't planning on really saying it. I'm just throwing it out there. Says the Gemara. So we have a machlokes. Rav says, let's look at what we have right now, and we're going to have to understand this a little bit better. We're going to have to tighten this up. Shmuel says we have a suffix. Both of them might have made a Kiddushin. She needs a divorce in both. Says the Gemara, what are we talking about? If you're talking about, on this chart over here, we're talking about that she's between 12 and 12 and a half. And basically, she's in the domain of the father unless she has simonim that she's a begeres. Rav is going to say, but it doesn't matter. Right now, she's a begeres. Hashdu the bagra. It's possible that this hour, right now, she became a begeres, but when her father got her engaged, she was not a begeres. There's no reason to believe. We're going to go further, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. So it must be that she's 12 and a half already. That is also a problem. Why would Shmuel say that perhaps the father's Kiddushin is Kiddushin? If it's already after she's 12 and a half, then of course she's the one that wins. The father has nothing to do with it. Zechariah says the Gemara, the Kaddish Ba'u the Mishalim Shisha. On the very final day of the 6 months, she's 12 and a half. That final day, she's not a begerer, she's not a naira. We have no idea what she is. She's nishtahin and nishtaher. There's no chazaka that she's a naira because that day she's going to become a begeres no matter what. And there's no chazaka that she's a begeres because right before that she was a naira. So we're not going to invoke any chazaka now. And it could go either direction, says Shmuel. And Memela, we have to be choishish for the father's Kiddushin, and we have to be choishish for the naira's Kiddushin, or the begeres' Kiddushin, and that's it. Rav Amari begeres lefanenu. Rav says, but we go with what we have right in front of us. What do we have in front of us? A girl who's an adult, a begeres, with the hashta begeres, with safar nabi begeres, and therefore we say that in the morning she was also a begeres. The father who did the Kiddushin in the morning, it's too bad. She was already out of his domain because if she's a begeres in the evening, she's a begeres in the morning. It's very possible that she became a begeres only later on that day, just because you saw her right now as a begeres, doesn't mean that in the morning she was a begeres. And the Gemara obviously is going to ask questions from other places in Shas, such as a mikvah, such as a shchimera. What we find now, does it go backwards or not? What we see now, does it mean that that's the halacha backing up? Or what we see now, it just happened this minute, and just because he found the situation now doesn't mean that that situation existed yesterday as well, or in the morning. Shmuel Israeli asked the Gemara, what's the difference, according to Shmuel, from the famous story of a mikvah? It's not. Mikvah, you measured a mikvah and it had 40 sa. It was 100% kosher. And then later on, a month later, you went and you measured it again and you found that it's not 40 sa. Kol taharish shenasu al gabav lemafreya. Anything, any kli that was tamei, and you put it into the mikvah to be mitara the kli, and then you went ahead and you baked bread or whatever with that kli, you're going to have to say that everything you baked in that kli, lemafreya, retroactively, bein b'rshus hayachid, bein b'rshus harabim tmeos. There's a concept in Shas, safek tuma b'rshus hayachid tamei. Anytime you have a safek of tuma, you don't know if it's tamei or not. So it depends. If you're in a private domain in Rishus HaYachid, the halacha is safek tamei. If you're in a public domain in Rishus HaRabim, safek tahar. That's the halacha. The Gemara says we don't have a safek here. I don't care if it's a safek. I don't care if it's a Rishus HaYachid. It's not considered a safek. I don't care if it's a Rishus HaRabim. In Rishus HaRabim, this should be, a safek should be tahar. Even if it's in Rishus HaRabim, tamei. Bein b'Rishus HaYachid, bein b'Rishus HaRabim tmeos. Why? Because I have a mikveh right now that's missing water. It's a pasal mikveh. And every kli that went in right now at this moment remains tamei. So as far as I know, this mikveh is tamei. I look at the situation right now. And right now it's tamei, so all the kelim I put in it the last week and a half are tamei. And Mamela,
week ago, the last time it was measured.
All the way to the last time it was measured. The month. The whole last time I measured is measured. Great. I don't know when it became chaser. Maybe a moment afterwards. Right now, the bottom line is it's chaser. I'm going to take the situation of now. Chazaka the hashta right now. I'm going to go all the way backwards. So right now, I have a woman who's a begeres. And let's go all the way back. Why does Shmuel say that perhaps in the morning she was an Ira? I take the situation right now. What is she now? Begeres? Let's go backwards and say that she was a begeres in the morning. Just like a mikvah. Says the Gemara, Shani Hasam, the Gemara is just going through the motions now. As the Talmud and the Rebbe, as the Talmud asking the Rebbe, but what do you mean? Shani Hasam, the there's a chazak on this kli. This kli was tamei, and it has a chazaka that it's tamei, and you're trying to say that it's tar, but right now we don't have a mikvah to prove you that it's tar. The mikvah that we have is no good. So the chazak on the kli remains. Says the Gemara, but you measure the mikvah, and the mikvah was kosher, so it should have a chazaka that it's not missing any water. Says the Gemara, but right now it is missing. So over here also say, right now she's a begeres. So look, then you don't have a hash to the bagra, but you'll say, but wait a minute. So what if she's a begeres? But maybe she became a begeres this minute. Says, so maybe the mikvah became chassid the second. What is the difference between a begeres and a mikvah? Says Gemara, there is a difference. We have two things going wrong for us by a mikvah: the kli and the mikvah. The mikvah is missing water, and the kli is tamei. You have no right. There's a chazak on the kli that it's tamei, and the fact is, right now the mikvah is missing water. And over here, we only have one thing going wrong for us. Right now, we have a woman who's a begeres. It's only one problem. There's a bachar that was called into the Rashiva's office. The Rashiva said, you have to leave yeshiva. Why? Because you come late to davening. So the Rashiva says, you're familiar with that Rashiva, right? We all had a Rashiva. You never had a Rashiva like that? So the bachar tells Rashiva, this Mechutzef, he tells Rashiva, he says, what's worse? Coming late to davening or talking Lashon Hara? So Rashi says, of course, talking Lashon Hara. So how can you be throwing me out of yeshiva and out of all these other guys? He says, because you also talk Lashon Hara. You have two things going for you. You talk Lashon Hara and you come late to davening. See, I raise from yeshiva. Tarta l'riyusa. They only have chada l'riyusa. Fine. Says Gemara, Shmuel Ma'ishna Mechavis. Another case, another Geshmaki case. The Sanya, what's the case? The case is, it's a Gevaldik idea. If you live in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, Beis Hashem b'mheir b'yameinu, we have to keep Trumas and Meisers. Now it's very annoying, so to speak. Every time you pop a bottle of Castel, what was that bottle he gave me, Reb Zalman? 2009 Castel. Castel, yeah? He held it all those years in his thing and he gave it to me. Tayir Chaver. And he's coming for Shabbos. I'm a Chaver. So, every time you open up a bottle, or you have a good Geshmaki guest, you open up a bottle of wine. He's going to start pouring now, checking, it's a liter, how much, 2%, and you put it in a little cup and you're going to give it to the Kraiem. So you do is very simple. You take a bottle of wine and you put it on the side and you write on it with a magic marker, you write on it for the Kraiem. This is a bottle for the Kraiem. Okay? Now every time you drink wine, you don't have to physically take truma. All you need to do is say, this bottle that I'm pouring for myself on Shabbos table, I'm going to drink the whole thing. The 2% of truma that I need to take is in that bottle that I wrote with the magic marker Kraiem on it. And that's what I do month after month after month. What happens, that happened to me with my bottle of Castel that I bought, the 2000, what year was it? Molandy was with me. It happened to me a number of times. I bought it in a restaurant, I think it was a 2004, don't even remember. A Magnum. I saw a Magnum in the restaurant. He says, but if it's spoiled, you get your money back. I just said the Maisa. So I went home, opened it up that Shabbos, and it was very spoiled. And he gave me my money back, but it took a long time. We had to eat by the restaurant over and over. He wouldn't give me money back. But that's what happened. Rabbi Isai, the bottle that had the magic marker on it was spoiled. It became vinegar. So what do we do? All these bottles of wine that I drank freely and that I'm drinking right now, what's with the truma? That's mamish what happened there. Says the Gemara, what's the difference between a small little bottle of chavis that you put on the side? He kept on saying there's a little truma in that bottle of wine, a little truma, and all of a sudden you find out that it's vinegar. So Rashi brings the whole machloikes. 3 days going back from when I found out it's vinegar, we'll say it's certainly vinegar, or perhaps Rashi says it's machlok samarayim. That means 3 days from the last time that I looked at that bottle and it was good. So 3 days are for sure good, and everything else is not good. The bottom line is Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon, that's Reb Shimon. That what? What's that? Sorry. Everything is a suffix. Sorry, I skipped. And we have a contradiction here. When it comes to mikvah, we say that it's missing everything. It's missing right now, and even in Rosh Hashanah, it's not even a suffix. Everything is tamei. And all of a sudden, when it comes to this bottle of wine, you're not sure. It's a little bit of a suffix. You have to take truma again. But you can't use this wine. This might be truma, but you still need to take more truma. Why is it a suffix? Because it goes according to Reb Shimon. Even in the case of a mikvah, there's no difference because Reb Shimon also holds it's a suffix, it's not a vadai. We said that everything that was done in this mikvah is 100% tamei. Because we go like what it is right now. Right now, it's missing water, so everything that was done in it is tamei. Reb Shimon that what? Like we said before, any suffix that you have in Rosh Hashanah, the halach is tar. Suffix Rosh Hashanah, suffix tumah Rosh Hashanah, tar. So mele suffix over here, according to Reb Shimon, tar. Oh, this is very interesting. What should the halacha be by Rosh Hashanah, Rabbi Yosef? Let's go back to the chart for a second. Suffix tumah Rosh Hashanah, tamei. So how come over here he doesn't say tamei? He says toilen. Toilen means it's a suffix. It remains a suffix. Why? So Rashi says How do we know the whole idea of Safek Tumah versus Yachid? Anybody remember? Safek Tumah versus Yachid. How do we know it? Where do we learn it from? Saita. Because the Saita secludes herself and versus Yachid, and she's only a Safek. But we say that she's Tameh. The Torah calls her a Tmeya. It's a different type of Tumah, but she's a Tameh. So we know the idea of Safek Tumah, says Rashi, but that's by a Saita, and a Saita has Reglaim L'davar. It's very obvious after the husband warned her and said, don't seclude yourself. And she went ahead and she's secluded. So we say she's Tmeya. But we don't have Reglaim L'davar to mikvah. We don't have. So that's why Tehillim. Abel Rabbanon, asked the Gemara, but according to Rabbanon, Tevelim Afreya, you go backwards and you say that whatever you did is not Truma. Asked the Gemara, so according to Shmuel, we should say, we go backwards and we say everything that you did, she's a begeres. If right now she's a begeres, let's go backwards like Rav and say that she was a begeres before, like Rabbanan. Doesn't Shmuel want to hold like Rabbanan? Rabbanan is the Roiv. It's different because you can say when it comes to the wine has a chazaka, ve'imar loy nitkan. You have a bottle of wine that you're using on Shabbos, and it has a chazaka that it wasn't fixed. So mainly you have a special chazaka on the bottle of wine, it's not fixed, and it's different than a woman. Say, but there's a chazaka that by the time you found it, that's when it became vinegar. Beforehand it wasn't vinegar and it was good truma. But the fact is right now it is vinegar. So what's the difference? She's right here in front of you. Says Gemara, it's literally the same word for word that we had a minute ago. Say that she became a begeres now. Says no. Maybe it became vinegar right now, and a minute ago it wasn't. Says Gemara, so tartili say you have wine that's tevel, you have the bottle of wine I want to use on Shabbos that you didn't take truma from, so it's tevel. And you have vinegar in front of you, so you have two problems. It's just like the mikvah. There are two problems. You have the kli that's similar to the wine that you want to use, and you have the mikvah that's similar to the vinegar that we have here. When it comes to the woman, there's only one negative going against her, that she's a begeres. Says the Gemara, perhaps it's similar to Machlokes Tanoim, the Machlokes Rav and Shmuel. We go backwards, another Geshmakis story. What happened over here? It says, Mi moitz mi ad mi. Daf Amud Beis. Of course, we have to go to Rashi for this. Rashi says the famous case of a guy that's a shchibera. He's on his deathbed, and he gives away all his belongings. So the halacha is that if he gives everything away, then he could say, wait a minute, I didn't want to give it away, I didn't realize that I'm going to be healthy again. Every time we say shchimras, I have to say that this ma'isa, it depends when it is and how far apart. When I say this ma'isa, there's a shchimra on his bed, and I wanted to say badavka for a certain person that comes to the shir, but he's not here today. He would appreciate it more than anybody. This guy was a real miser, a real Compton. So he's on his dead mamish minutes before he dies, and he says, is my wife here? They say, yeah, she's here. The kids? Yeah. Son-in-law? Yeah. So why are the lights on in the kitchen? And then I was thinking to myself, Lamaisa, that's us, basically. Because this is Shchimera, okay, he's a day before. But we also, our life is this short. Mamish this short. Yesterday was our wedding, no? When did we get married? A week ago. How long ago? It's not even a week. It feels like that. We're going quick, but we sit and we talk about shtusim the whole day. Like, oh, why is this and why that? And this scratch and this that. It's all shtuyot. It's all, why is the light on in the kitchen? That's what he had. This is what this guy's worried about the minute before he dies. Okay. I'll go upon him. We have a machlokes here. This guy says, you know why I gave you every single thing that I own? Because I thought I was dying. And they say, you're a liar. You were strong like an ox. You're running, you're on the basketball court, and you're in a good mood, and you gave me all your stuff. The guy said, it doesn't make any sense. Why would I give you all my stuff? I thought I'm dying. But you weren't dying. You weren't in a hospital bed. You weren't in oxygen. Go prove it. So basically, we have a very similar machlokes to what we had up until now. Then what? Who might see me ad me? Who wins? Who might see me adam? The guy that gave away all his belongings, he wins. Below raya. He doesn't need to bring any raya. There's an oxygen, and they can't prove it unless they could show that he was in the middle of a basketball game. Rabbi Yaakov. That's Rabbi Yaakov. So it seems like that's like similar to what we had now. That right now, what is he right now? Right now he's up and around. He wouldn't give it away. Depends. In Barihu, right now, he's a Bari. Forget what I said a second ago. If he's healthy right now, then he has to bring a raya that is a shchimera. And if he's a shchimera, so it depends. You look at him right now. If he's healthy, then he has to prove that he was a shchimera. And if he's a shchimera, they have to prove that he was healthy. So name Rav, don't make. So this is like Rav. Why? Because Rav says we look at what she is now. Right now she's a begaris. Then we go backwards to begaris. So we look at right now. If right now he is a bari, then he has to bring the right. In other words, if he's a shchimera, then they have to bring a right. So you look at what he is right now. What is he now? What is she now? She's a begaris. So we say she's a begaris. He's a bari. He's a bari. He's a shchimera. He's a shchimera. If he's a shchimera, then he gets his money back. But it goes based on what he is right now. Shmuel the Amar Rabbi Yaakov. Rabbi Yaakov says, I don't know, it's a suffix. And whatever he is right now doesn't matter. He has to be. We have a suffix. What to do? Omar lach Rav, no, different case. Why? I know that I feel like Rabbi Yaakov. I can hold like Rabbi Yaakov. I can like Rabbi Yaakov. Because who had a chazak on all these belongings? The donor, the guy that gave it away. So he has a chazaka. Oh, so this is where we said this before, not yesterday, before in Amud Aleph, that today, this day, this begaris, it's the last day of her nairos. Then there's no chazak at all, says Rashi, right? It's nishtahin and nishtaher. You can't say she's a naira, you can't say she's a begaris. She has nothing. Because this is the day it's supposed to switch. So, what?
Is it at night or in the morning?
There is no time.
But you come to bed.
You know, you remind me of a story. There's let me see if I can get it right, because you just reminded me. They asked the Briskerov, what time of the day does it switch? So, what time of the day does a boy become a gadol? He says it's in the daytime. Why? Because the first Mishnah in Bracha says, and the Gemara says, why does he start Ba'arvis? So he said, what do you mean why you start Ba'arvis? Because that's when you become a gadol, at night. But because the Gemara asked the question, why do you bring it, is a right that it doesn't come at night, it comes in the morning, and that's why the Gemara... Okay, anyways. I don't know when it comes. We don't know when it comes. The point is, that's the whole point. If I knew when it came, then we wouldn't have the whole Gemara. The point is, she is a begaris in the evening. That's given. She's a begaris.
The whole day is a suffix.
The whole day is nishtay nishter, because it's supposed to happen. So she can't say, well, I have a chazaka. The father can't say, well, you have a chazaka, she's a naira. Because her whole life she was a naira up until now. Because it's supposed to happen today. 12 and a half is the deadline. And she can't say that she's 100% a begaris, because up until now she was a naira. So therefore, we have zero chazakis, throw all the chazakis out the window. And that's what the Gemara is saying. There's no chazak on this body. Not for bagers, not for nairas. And Shmuel says, I could eat. In other words, there's no connection between this story and the machlokes between Rav and Shmuel when it comes to begaris. Why? The whole world, every human being has a chazaka that he's healthy. The guy that gave away his stuff, he's trying to take himself out of the norm of human beings. Most human beings, 99% of the human beings are healthy. Baruch Hashem. How about the Asea? I don't know if it's 99, whatever the number is. But human beings have a chazaka until they get sick. Human beings are born healthy 99% of the time. I've heard of crazy stories of babies born with the machla, which I don't understand how it even happens. It's possible, okay. But a human being is born healthy until further notice. So you have a chazaka. So he's claiming he's a shchimera. Prove it. But over here, she's not trying to take herself out of an original chazaka. Says Gemara, oh, what about basically what we discussed up until now? Her father was Mekadosh to a guy, and she's also Mekadosh herself. And turns out that she's already 12 and a half. Tanachada, one Bryce says, Hari begeres lefanenu. Let's go. She's a begeres. Who says that? Rav. V'tanya Yidach, and there's another Bryce that says the exact same words and says, Chashin and Kiddushin Shneim, we should be choshish for both. That sounds like Shmuel. My love, Chat Rav, Chat Shmuel. Lo, Yidden Shmuel. No, you're not forced. Why? When she denies it and she says, I became a begeres yesterday, so the father has no say at all. So she's saying, what are you talking about? I was already begeres yesterday. She's not denying it. So now we have a suffix. Is the father's Kiddushin or not? So it's a suffix. So each Bryce is talking about a different case. As says the Gemara, if that's the case, if you're going to say such a nafkimina, so who says this is even a machlok between Rav and Shmuel? Maybe maybe Rav and Shmuel also. And Rav is talking about the reason why Rav says that we believe her and she's a begeres because she denies her father's claim. She says I was a begeres yesterday. Says the Gemara's story. It can't be. Why? With Tisbra, Rav Yosef the Rav Menashe Midvil. There's a person, Rav Yosef Menashe from Dvil. Or Vaduv the will say the Rav. A story came to him. Father, daughter, and he said, you know who's engaged? The daughter is right. The daughter, we go with the daughter's chassan, not with the father's chassan. Like Rav. Says the Gemara, Vik, but Shmuel is very upset. So if we stop right here, what do you see? That there's a real machlekes. It wasn't b'makachashtoi, it wasn't, they're really arguing in real life. And what was Shmuel upset about? V'amar. That's unbelievable. There's a joke when I was a kid. It's not so funny, but I'm not going to say in Eretz Yisrael, there's a certain city that a lot of people make fun of the people there. Say they're all frumies and they're not. So, in that city, it happens to be that every time like there's a crane or a cement truck, you'll always see like 10 people staring like this. Like they're always. So the joke was, why is this city? Why are they so like weak up here in the head? Because when HaKadosh Baruch Hu was giving out the brains, there was an ambulance call. And they all came to stare down, and they didn't pick up their brains. That's what he's saying over here. This is where they got the joke from. Kuli Alma says Shmuel, Kuli Alma kailele b'kabazuta. The whole world got a small portion of brains. V'hayv de Rabbanon, he's so chashiv. This Rav Yosef the Rav Menashe Midvil, he got an extra large portion. So what? He has the right to go with Rav. And by the way, Rav is Mekel. Because Rav says you don't need a divorce from the first one. We have a big suffix here. Rav says it's not a suffix. Shmuel says suffix, get divorced from both. Rav says, ignore the father's chassan. I don't care that he accepted Kiddushin. We're going to go with the girl. He's mamish Mekel. Shmuel says, what are you doing? Interesting, just want to point this out. Nida Daf Chavav, I did a search, and I found this exact name, Rav Yosef Rav Menashe Midvil, and it says also that Shmuel said a lashon like, I could make him fly with I could just blow at him and I'll blow him away. And I don't know for a fact, I didn't see anybody connecting the two, but maybe he was still upset at him about this case over here. That's why he used such a lashon over there. Anyway, it says, if there was no machlokes between Rav and Shmuel, like you wanted to suggest, so why was Shmuel upset? Maybe the story over there was that the girl denied the father. She said, I was a begeres yesterday. When you accepted Kiddushin on my behalf, I was already an adult. And according to everybody, we listened to her. And there's no machlokes between Rav and Shmuel in that case. Elamai, they argued even in a case where she doesn't deny anything, she's quiet, and Rav says, even though she's quiet, it's not even a suffix. She wins. Marzutra tells Rav Ashi that the halacha is like Shmuel. But Rav Ashi himself, Rav Ashi Omar, no, I paskin like Rav. I didn't look this up, but it must be that Rav Ashi didn't write this. Rav Ashi wrote the Gemara. I don't think that Rav Ashi would write about himself, I say that the halacha is like Rav, and by the way, the halacha is like Rav. It just, to me, it would seem like a later generation stuck that in after Rav Ashi. Maybe His son, I think, continued the Gemara, so maybe that's how it was. But Ayin Sham. Says the Elige Mishnah. Mishiyatzu v'ishtai, simple Mishnah. Mishiyatzu v'ishtai l'mdinas hayam. A person that everybody knew that he had the right yichos, he did the checks beforehand. Ubahu v'ishtai ubanov. He leaves to a different country, comes back years later. Shalom Aleichem, here he is with a wife, children. He left with a wife. He comes back with 10 kids. Remember, I left with a woman. I'm telling you right now, that's her. MMA law then was already checked that she had good yichos. Everything is good. So what's the question? Are these kids good yichos? You don't have to. Everything is good. You don't have to check anything. Oh, because of the continuation. They know maybe so. Mesa. What if she dies? Would you say the same thing, Yechiel? What if she dies? He comes with children. He says, "These are great children. They have great yichos."
No, that's a better question.
Okay, so you got to start off somewhere. You got to set it up. You got to set it up.
Remember, nishmas were made to memorize.
Yeah,
So
you got to go in order. If there's no issues, they did leave. It's a little bit of an issue. I don't remember what she looks like. I didn't have pictures in those days. I don't have Tudat Zahut. I don't have a license. I don't know. Her hair is gray now. It's a little. The matzah is a little different. Okay, a couple extra pounds. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Right now, you're telling me I'm supposed to believe you. I'm supposed to believe this is your wife and these are your kids. Okay, great. And when you don't have a wife, she dies and these are your kids. Why can't I believe you on that? Mesav Elu Bonea, she died. And these are her children. Maybe Raya Labonim. Then he does have to bring proof that these are her children. Maybe Raya Laisha. You don't have to worry with the mothers, on the son, on the kids. Isha Nosasim in this Hayam. Oh, now he didn't leave with a woman. He went away and he says, I married a woman in Chutz La'aretz. Harei Yizu, and this is her. Veilu Bonea, and these are her children. Maybe Raya Laisha. Then all he has to do is prove the woman's yichos. But what about the children? Maybe he adopted a bunch of kids. The Gemara is going to explain because these kids are very connected to her. We see they're her kids. Although that's not 100% absolute, because maybe she adopted them, I don't know what. But the woman that I married in Chutz La'aretz is not alive anymore. But these are her children. Then you have to bring 2 rayas. On the mother and on the children. This is only talking about little children that are very attached to the mother, like a typical child is attached to his mother. And the Gemara says that if a person brings a brayza, a person says, I married this woman in Chutz La'aretz, I have to bring a raya on the woman, but I don't have to bring a raya on the sons. Or maybe raya like doilim and tzarich lavi raya like tanim, but I have to bring a raya for the older kids because the older kids, there's no raya that they're connected to this woman. Maybe they're pretending. Bamed v'mamurim bi'isha achas. When he has one wife, if they come, there's 2 women involved, and one of them died. Maybe raya leisha v'ala banim. Then he has to bring a raya on both. Why? Alak doilim alak tanim. Over here, just because these children are connected, says Rashi, to this woman is not a raya. Why? Because they were used to this wife. He had 2 wives. One died. Now, it's very possible that these babies, these children, are attached to this stepmother. It's not the real mother. And therefore, you have to bring a raya, even on the ktanim, whether or not they have yichos. Rabbi Isai, have a wonderful day.